Have you ever noticed how a knife grows dull after repeated use? Over time, no matter how sharp it once was, constant wear and friction makes the edge dull. But if you take that same knife and draw it against another piece of steel, like the back of another knife, the edge gets sharp again. That's the idea the Bible gives us in Proverbs 27:17, which says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another." This short verse captures a profound truth. God designed us to grow together, not alone, just as metal sharpens metal through contact and friction. We refine one another through our interactions, through encouragement, challenging one another, and accountability. The book of Ecclesiastes talks about this idea in chapter 4, verses 9 and 10. It says, "Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, one will lift up his companion. But woe to him who is alone when he falls, for he has no one to help him up." Life is filled with challenges, setbacks, and unexpected obstacles. None of us is so strong that we never stumble. When we live our life alone, sin can be hard to overcome. But when we live with contact with other Christians, we have someone to reach down and lift us up and say, "Don't give up. You're not alone." That is God's plan for the church. We should not be isolated individuals trying to survive on our own. We are a Christian family that is designed to support and strengthen one another. Hebrews 10:24 and 25 says, "And let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching." That's the day of Jesus coming back. Here the idea changes from lifting someone up after a fall to actively urging them forward. To stir up means to push gently, but firmly toward love and good works. Sometimes encouragement means a warm word of comfort. Other times it means challenging someone to not give up, not to settle, but to grow in faith and obedience. Sharpening, after all, involves friction. God calls us not to avoid it, but to use it constructively, to push each other toward love and good works. Malachi 3:16 gives us a glimpse of what this looks like in practice. "Then those who feared the Lord spoke to one another, and the Lord listened and heard them. So a book of remembrance was written before him for those who fear the Lord and to meditate on his name," you could say, or his character. Notice the sequence, though. God's people gather, they speak to one another, and God himself listens in. He delights in their fellowship. He values their words so much that he records them in a book of remembrance. That tells us that every conversation we have with fellow believers, and anyone else in general, has eternal significance. Words of encouragement, testimonies of God's faithfulness, even humble prayers lifted together. These are not small things. Heaven pays attention. Colossians 3:16 takes us even deeper. "Let the word of Christ dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Lord." Here Paul shows us the content of sharpening. It isn't just casual talk. It's rooted in the word of Christ. True fellowship is more than surface-level chatter. It's reminding one another of God's promises. singing his praises together, and even admonishing when needed. Admonishing doesn't mean condemning or ridiculing. It means warning in love, pointing out the danger, and urging a brother or sister to walk in a better way. That leads us to 1 Thessalonians 5:11. Therefore, comfort each other and edify one another, just as you also are doing. This isn't optional. Encouragement is supposed to be a lifestyle of the church. Every interaction, whether in the sanctuary, out in nature on a walk, or visiting someone in their home, it's an opportunity to tear down or to build up. God calls us to choose to build each other's up. Getting advice and hanging out with others is important and part of God's plan. It's totally fine to call or meet up and chat about stuff, swap ideas, and share what you're thinking. But when people show up with their own agendas or personal perspectives and they want to convince others of them, it's easy to push God out of the mix during these talks. We help each other and get sharper by inviting God's guidance into a meeting, not by relying on our own cleverness. When our own input comes from a place of prayer and humility, our shared input turns into a way for the Spirit to move. Every relationship in life demands a bit of self-restraint, patience, and compassion. We're all so varied in our personalities, routines, and backgrounds that we see the world through different eyes. No two people have identical stories down to every detail. Basically, those quirks that bug us sometimes are exactly what God uses to refine us. Handled with kindness, they turn into a chance to grow. A lot of us who follow God don't make enough effort to build genuine friendships. But we can't just skip over learning how to connect on a deeper level. To really support each other, we've got to spend time together. Trading thoughts helps everyone involved. It builds empathy between us, and hashing things out as a team makes the whole community tighter. In our busy lives, a lot of us stick to quick chats that don't go anywhere. But true godly hanging out means being real, tuning in with care, and being open to both dishing out and taking advice. It's in these everyday talks, meals shared, or group prayers where real bonds are formed. The angels in heaven are even curious to see how we handle the young Christians or those in rough spots among us. We should treat them with kindness and tenderness, encouraging them to press forward, which will please God. If you discourage them by harshness or censure, they will probably get discouraged and turn away from duty and God. Think about that. Every chat or interaction could either lift someone up, helping them, or discouraging them, and maybe cause them to leave the church. Helping each other to be sharp in life is important. Hanging out with others is how people build inner strength and purify their character. We're wired for connection, and the people around us are always rubbing off on us, for better or for worse. We can't dodge influence, it's everywhere. The real choice is whether we're using ours to drag someone else down in their beliefs or to build up them stronger. So what does Proverbs 27:17 mean for us today when it says, "One person sharpens another"? It means God has placed us in community for a purpose. He knows that on our own, it is easy to fall into a sinful life or have errors in our values. But together, when we love, challenge, counsel, and encourage one another, we become sharp. ready for service, strong in the faith, and united in purpose. The question for each of us is simple. Am I sharpening those around me or dulling them in their faith? Am I lifting up others, spurring them towards love and good works, or am I discouraging them with criticism or neglect? God's calling is clear. Encourage one another and build one another up. By His grace, let's commit to being sharpeners in His kingdom, brothers and sisters who, through the word and action, make each other stronger, wiser, and more Christ-like. All right. Thanks for watching so much. God bless, and I will see you on the next video.